Hello and welcome. In this video, I will show you how to create the infrastructure needed to run TeslaMate in an AWS or Amazon Web Services account, and how to access TeslaMate via SSH tunnels, also known as port forwarding. Once logged into your AWS account, choose an AWS region from the drop-down in the upper right-hand corner that is near you and has pricing that meets your budget. Next, choose the Cloud Formation service. Then click Create Stack. From the video description, copy and paste the EIP stack URL. Then click Next. Enter a stack name. I use TeslaMate-EIP. Then click Next. Scroll to the bottom and click Next again. On the review page, scroll to the bottom and click Create Stack. While the stack creates, you can monitor the status by periodically clicking the refresh buttons. Once the stack is created, you will see the status change to Create Complete. If you click on the Outputs tab, you will see the IP address that AWS has allocated to you. Make a copy of this because you're going to need it later. Click on CloudFormation, then click on Create Stack. This time paste in the URL for the VPC stack. Click Next. Then enter a stack name. I use TeslaMate-VPC. Click Next. Scroll to the bottom and click Next again. On the review page, scroll to the bottom and click Create Stack. And periodically clicking on the refresh buttons to see when the stack is fully completed. You will see in the events pane some create complete messages, but they are for individual elements within the stack and not the stack as a whole. To see the status of the stack as a whole, look at the left pane. The stack will take a couple of minutes to complete. Now that the VPC stack is complete, we need to switch to the EC2 service. Then choose the key pairs on the left. Then choose the Create Key Pair button. And enter a name. I use TeslaMate-Key Pair- and then the date of the key, or possibly even including the region ID, because these keys are based on AWS regions as well. You will be downloading this key pair file, so make sure you protect it. Anyone with a copy can access your TeslaMate and your Tesla account API token. Next, click on Instances, then Launch Instances. Then we're going to search for the Ubuntu images, so type in Ubuntu in the search bar. You want the latest Ubuntu Server LTS release, which currently is 20.04, and you want the 64-bit ARM version. On the Choose a Type page, you want to choose the t4g.micro instance type, and then click Next, Configure Details, and on the Details page, choose the TeslaMate VPC, TeslaMate Public Subnet, make sure Auto-Assign Public IP is enabled, and then uncheck the Unlimited checkbox for credit specification. Then click Next, Add Storage. For the root partition or volume, you want to make it 20 gigabytes, and then for encryption, choose the default AWS EBS key. Then click Next, Add Tags. Click the Add Tag button, and then for key, type in name. For value, enter TeslaMate. Then click the Next Configure Security Group button. Then choose the Select an Existing Security Group and select the TeslaMate External Access SG, and then Review and Launch. On this page you can review if you want, and then click the Launch button, and then choose an existing key pair. Make sure it's the key pair you created earlier, acknowledge, and then launch instances. Click on the View Instances button, and you'll see your instance starting to start up. Next, click on Elastic IPs. We need to associate the Elastic IP address that you were allocated earlier to this instance. So make sure it's selected, and then click Action and associate Elastic IP address. Then in the Instances box, choose your running TeslaMate instance and click Associate. If your association, first click on Instances, and then if your IP address does not show up with your TeslaMate instance, click the refresh button and it should show up. And at this point, you have created all the necessary infrastructure in AWS. Under Linux, the key pair file downloaded earlier has permissions that are too open, and SSH will not allow you to use the key until you lock the permissions down. So our first command corrects this. Next, we need to register the key with our running SSH agent. And now we can log into our instance. And now we're logged in. Select Manage Connections, then select the Identities tab. Add a new identity. For nickname, enter TeslaMate. For username, Ubuntu, all lowercase. For private key, import, and then select the file from your local file system. And then press the checkbox to go back. Go back to the Connections panel. For nickname, TeslaMate. In the address, enter the Elastic IP address that AWS assigned to you earlier. Make sure the identity chosen is TeslaMate and click the check mark. Then click on TeslaMate and it will attempt to connect, accept the connection, and now you are connected. Press keychain, select add key, then paste key. For name, enter TeslaMate. For private, paste the contents of your key pair file and press save. Press hosts. Select new host. For alias, enter TeslaMate. For hostname, enter your Elastic IP address from AWS. Scroll down, and for username, enter Ubuntu, all lowercase. Then press key and select your TeslaMate key and save. Press the TeslaMate host, then continue, and you're logged in. Now that we're logged in, let's download the configure script. You may copy and paste the URL from the video description instead of typing it. Now we execute the script. The script will run for a minute or two as it downloads the necessary software and updates Linux. Next, reboot the instance so the updates take effect. Now log back into the instance and run the following command, substituting America Los Angeles for your own time zone. To see a list of the official time zone names, visit the link in the video description. Should you enter the wrong value, you can rerun this script multiple times as long as you haven't entered any other commands. But once the time zone is set, bring up TeslaMate by entering the Docker close up command. Once this completes, you should be able to use SSH tunneling to access TeslaMate. Use the SSH command as before, but this time enter the -L options to set up the two different tunnels, one for port 3000 and one for port 4000. And now that we're logged in, the tunnel should be set up. We can open a browser and visit the site. Type in http://localhost:4000. And you have the login screen for TeslaMate. This is an initial login screen where you enter your Tesla account credentials, and it will grab an API token, and then from that point on you will have access to the TeslaMate software. You can also set up some settings. For example, being in the US, I tend to change the units. You will also want to add in the URLs for the web app. They will basically be what you typed in the browser. This one is for the main TeslaMate site, and this one is for the Grafana dashboards. Press Manage Connections, switch to port forwards, add a new forwarding. For the name, put in Grafana Dashboards. And for the connection, choose TeslaMate. For port, enter 3000. For destination, localhost. And for port 3000. And leave the open box unchecked. Next, we're going to add another new port, and the name is going to be TeslaMate. The connection will be TeslaMate. The port will be 4000. Destination will also be localhost. The port 2 will be 4000, and this time we want to check the open in browser after connecting checkbox. And that's all there is to it. Next, we can launch these tunnels by clicking on the switches. It will open a browser automatically to the appropriate URL, and we have our login for TeslaMate. When finished, go back to Manage Connections, back to Port Forwards, and then turn the tunnels back off. And that's it. Press port forwarding, new rule. For label, enter Grafana dashboard. For host, select the TeslaMate host, port from 3000. Destination should be localhost. Port 2 also 3000. And then save. Add another one. This time the label should be TeslaMate. Host should also be TeslaMate. Port from will be 4000. Destination localhost. Port 2 also 4000. Save. And then click on each one to launch the tunnel. Because this needs to stay running, we have to use multiple windows. So open up your browser window alongside the terminus, and then go to the localhost :4000 URL, and you will get your TeslaMate login. When finished, swipe away the browser window, turn off the tunnels, and you're done.